The world you live in is not made of buildings, cars, or people. It is made of frames. Every time you walk into a coffee shop, sit down in a boardroom, or look into the eyes of a stranger, a silent, invisible battle is taking place. It is a battle for the high ground of control. Most people are losing this battle before they even open their mouths. They lose it because their internal state is at the mercy of their external environment. If the sun is shining, they are happy. If someone cuts them off in traffic, they are enraged. If a boss critiques their work, they are devastated. They are environmentally reactive, biological puppets being pulled by the strings of chance. But the man who possesses the hidden advantage operates on a different frequency. He has built what the ancient Stoics called the inner citadel. This is not just a poetic metaphor. It is a psychological fortress constructed through the deliberate mastery of his own nervous system. He understands a fundamental truth that 99% of the population ignores. Pressure is an illusion. It is nothing more than your body misinterpreting a high-stakes situation as a mortal threat. While the average man allows his heart rate to dictate his logic, the disciplined man uses his logic to dictate his heart rate. In this document, we are going to deconstruct the architecture of that control. We are going to explore why silence is more terrifying than a shout, why stillness is more commanding than movement, and how you can remain the only point of absolute calm in a world that is screaming for your reaction. This is not about acting tough. It is about becoming unshakable. It is about the transition from a person who reacts to a person who is. To maintain control under pressure, you must first understand the traitor living inside your own skull, the amygdala. This almond-shaped cluster of neurons is the oldest part of your brain, designed for a world that no longer exists. 10,000 years ago, a spike in pressure meant a tiger was in the tall grass. Today, that same spike occurs when you get a "we need to talk" text, or when a client threatens to pull a contract. Your biology cannot tell the difference between a predator and a social conflict. When the pressure hits, your brain initiates a sympathetic nervous system dump. Adrenaline floods your veins. Your pupils dilate. Your blood moves away from your digestive system and your prefrontal cortex, the seat of rational thought, and flows into your large muscles. You are literally becoming stupider in the moment you need to be at your smartest. You are being primed to fight or flee, but in a modern boardroom, both of those options lead to failure. This is what we call the biological flinch. It is the stutter in your voice. It is the trembling of your hands. It is the desperate need to explain yourself. To never lose control, you must learn to manually override this process. You must become the engineer of your own chemistry. You must learn to look at the adrenaline spike not as fear, but as arousal, as raw energy that you can harness rather than be consumed by. This is the first step of the sovereign man, the refusal to be a slave to his own primitive instincts. If the brain controls the body, the breath is the back door through which the body can control the brain. This is the most practical tool in the arsenal of the unshakable man. When the pressure hits, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. This increases the CO2 levels in your blood, which signals the brain that you are suffocating, which triggers more panic. It is a death spiral of control. You must implement the 4-7-8 protocol, or tactical box breathing. The inhale, 4 seconds of deep, diaphragmatic breathing. You are filling the bottom of your lungs, not just the chest. This signals the vagus nerve that there is no immediate physical threat. The hold, 7 seconds of stillness. In this silence, you are proving to your nervous system that you are the master of your oxygen. The exhale, 8 seconds of slow, controlled release. The exhale is the brake of the human body. By making the exhale longer than the inhale, you are physically forcing your heart rate to drop. When you do this in the middle of a high-pressure conversation, you are doing something invisible but revolutionary. While the person across from you is getting hotter, their face flushing, their voice rising, you are getting colder. You are literally cooling your own blood. This is the foundation of temporal dominance. Because you have controlled your breath, you have gained time. And in any conflict, the person with the most time always wins. Why does a calm person dominate a room without saying a word? It comes down to a concept we call emotional density. In physics, an object with more mass has more gravity. It pulls smaller objects into its orbit. In social dynamics, mass is your level of internal stability. Most people are emotionally light. They are like autumn leaves. One gust of wind and they are flying in a new direction. They are high-frequency individuals. They talk fast, they move fast, and they react to every stimulus. They have no gravity. The man of control is a low-frequency individual. He has mass. When someone shouts at him, he doesn't shout back. He doesn't even move. He remains still. This stillness is interpreted by the human brain as a sign of extreme power. Why? Because in nature, only the things at the top of the food chain can afford to be still. The prey must always be moving, scanning, and twitching. The predator can sit and watch for hours. By maintaining physical stillness, keeping your hands quiet, your eyes steady, and your posture open, you are exerting social gravity. You are forcing the chaotic people around you to either align with your calm or feel increasingly insane in your presence. You aren't competing for control. You are simply being so heavy that the room has no choice but to revolve around you. Information is the fuel of pressure. If an opponent knows what you are thinking, what you are feeling, or what you are afraid of, they can apply pressure to those specific points. Most men are leaky. They telegraph their internal state through their micro-expressions, their tone, and their word choice. They are transparent. To maintain absolute control, you must become a black box. This does not mean being a robot. It means being strategically unreadable. When you are under pressure, you must consciously flatten your feedback loop. If someone insults you, zero reaction. If someone offers you $1 million, zero reaction. If the building is on fire, zero reaction until the plan is formed. By denying the world any feedback on your internal state, you are performing a form of psychological ghosting. People will try to probe you with provocations just to see if they can get a spark. When you give them nothing, they begin to panic. They feel like they are yelling into a void. This void is your greatest protection. Inside the black box, you are free to calculate, to feel, and to plan. But the world only sees the impenetrable surface of your calm. This is how you never lose control, by making sure the world never knows where your control center even is. The greatest paradox of control is that it is often lost because of a desperate attachment to survival, be it physical survival, the survival of an ego, or the survival of a career. When you are afraid to lose, you are easy to manipulate. The Japanese Hagakure, the manual of the samurai, speaks of a warrior who enters battle as if he is already dead. By accepting the worst possible outcome as a foregone conclusion, he gains a terrifying freedom. In a high-pressure negotiation or a social confrontation, your life is your desired outcome. If you are terrified of the deal falling through, the other side owns you. They can see the flicker of desperation in your eyes, and they will use it to squeeze you. But when you adopt the already dead mindset, you walk into the room with nothing to lose. You have already mentally accepted the firing, the rejection, or the failure. This creates a psychological cold zone around you. You aren't reckless, you are detached. Because you don't need the win, you are the only person capable of seeing the situation objectively. You can spot the flaws in their argument, you can hear the tremor in their voice, and you can wait them out. While they are sweating over the result, you are observing the process. This detachment is the highest form of confidence. It is the realization that your internal sovereignty is more valuable than any external victory. You win because you were willing to walk away before you even sat down. Most men believe they are calm, but their faces are telling a different story. The human face has 43 muscles, and most of them are directly wired to the emotional centers of the brain. When you are under pressure, these muscles perform micro-leaks. Your nostrils flare slightly, a sign of aggression, arousal. Your brow furrows, doubt, or your lips thin, suppressed anger. These leaks are the social blood that sharks can smell from miles away. To maintain absolute control, you must undergo the statue training. This is a daily practice where you sit in front of a mirror and intentionally trigger stressful thoughts. You think about your debts, your failures, or people who have wronged you. While these thoughts swirl, you maintain a face of perfect neutrality. The brow, it must remain flat. A furrowed brow signals that the external world is taxing your processing power. The jaw, it must remain unclenched. A tight jaw is a sign of a man who is holding back his reaction. A sovereign man has no reaction to hold back. The eyes. They must remain soft yet focused. You aren't staring aggressively. You are observing clinically. Through this training, you build a firewall between your feelings and your features. When a real crisis hits, your face becomes an unreadable mask of stone. To an observer, you look like a final boss in a game. Someone who is so prepared for the event that it doesn't even warrant a change in expression. This facial stillness is unsettling to others. It forces them to wonder what you know that they don't. Speed is the enemy of control. When the environment speeds up, your brain feels a pressure to respond. Someone insults you, and your instinct is to snap back. Someone asks a tough question, and you rush to fill the silence. This speed is a trap. It forces you to operate on the automatic pilot of your habits, which are usually reactive and low status. The unshakable man implements the 3-second buffer. Whenever you are prompted for a reaction, whether it's a direct question, an insult, or a piece of bad news, you mentally count 1, 2, 3. During these seconds, you do not move. You do not speak. You do not even change your expression. What is happening in those 3 seconds? You are breaking the ping-pong loop. You are showing that you are not a machine that reacts to every button press. You are regaining logical control. You are allowing the adrenaline to subside just enough for your prefrontal cortex to come back online. You are exerting dominance. Silence is a vacuum. By making the other person wait for those 3 seconds, you are forcing them to sit in the tension of their own words. They will often start to backpedal or explain their insult before you even open your mouth. Time is the only resource that matters in a crisis. By taking those 3 seconds, you are signaling to the world that you own the clock. You are moving at your own pace, and the world must wait for you. When someone applies pressure to you, they are essentially performing an act. They are using volume, posture, and words to create a reality where they are in control and you are the victim. Most people get caught up in the content of the act. They listen to the insults and get hurt. The man of control uses the clinical observer protocol. He doesn't hear the insults. He sees the mechanism. He looks at the shouting person and thinks, his face is red, which means his blood pressure is high. His voice is cracking, which means he is losing emotional regulation. He is leaning forward, which means he is desperate for my reaction. By viewing the aggressor as a biological specimen rather than a threat, you remove their power. You are the scientist, and they are the subject in the cage. You start to see their aggression for what it truly is, a plea for importance. They are shouting because they feel small. Once you see the smallness behind the noise, it is impossible to be intimidated by it. You don't get angry at a child throwing a tantrum. You simply wait for it to be over. This shift in perspective turns the pressure into data, and you cannot be crushed by data. We often think of silence as nothing, but in the hands of a master, silence is as heavy as a lead weight. When you are under pressure, the most confident move is often to say absolutely nothing. Imagine a negotiation where the other side makes a ridiculous demand. Most people would argue. The sovereign man simply looks at them and stays silent. He doesn't look angry. He looks unmet. He provides zero feedback. This creates a psychological tension field. Humans are biologically programmed to find harmony in social interactions. Silence is disharmony. By maintaining the silence, you are forcing the other person to be the one to fix it. Usually, they will fix it by compromising. They will say, well, maybe we can adjust that. Or, look, I'm just saying, this is the power of the void. You aren't pushing them. You are allowing them to fall into the hole you've created with your silence. You are the still point around which their anxiety revolves. To never lose control is to realize that you don't need to do anything to win. You often just need to be the only person in the room who is comfortable with the silence. Panic is synonymous with speed. When the human brain detects a threat, it accelerates. Your thoughts race, your speech becomes rapid, and your physical movements become jerky and erratic. This is a biological attempt to outrun the pressure. But in a social or professional environment, speed is the ultimate tell of low status. It signals to everyone that you are being pushed by the situation. The unshakable man implements the slow motion protocol. When the pressure reaches its peak, he consciously decides to move and speak at 75% of his normal speed. The physical turn. If someone calls your name or shouts an insult from the side, do not snap your head toward them. Turn slowly, with your shoulders and head moving as one solid unit. This predatory turn signals that you are not startled. You are observing a stimulus, not reacting to a threat. The deliberate gesture. If you need to reach for a pen, a glass of water, or a phone, do it with smooth, rhythmic precision. Avoid the fumble. Fumbling is a sign that your fine motor skills are being degraded by adrenaline. By moving slowly, you are manually forcing your brain to remain in a calm, logical state. By slowing down the tempo of your existence, you are forcing the environment to adjust to you. You become the metronome of the room. When you are slow and deliberate while everyone else is frantic, you appear to be the only person who actually knows what is happening. Speed creates chaos. Slowness creates authority. We live in an age of over-explanation. Most men, when pressured, feel a desperate need to clear the air or be understood. They ramble. They give 5 reasons when one would suffice. They fill the air with verbal clutter like ah, and you know. The sovereign man practices information scarcity. He understands that his words are like a finite resource. The more he gives away, the less value they have. The one-sentence rule. In a high-pressure exchange, try to limit your responses to a single powerful sentence. If someone asks for a justification, give the conclusion, not the working out. The death of the pleading tone. Most people end their sentences with a slight rise in pitch, upspeak, making every statement sound like a question. The man in control uses downward inflections. His voice ends on a lower note, signaling that the statement is final and non-negotiable. When you speak less, people are forced to lean in. They start to overanalyze your few words, giving them more weight than they perhaps even deserve. You become a deep well. People can see the surface, but they have no idea how deep the water goes. This mystery is your greatest shield against manipulation. If they can't find the bottom, they can't find your breaking point. Most people operate on an external locus of control. Their mood is a reflection of their surroundings. If the stock market is up, they are confident. If a client is angry, they are miserable. They are like a ship without a rudder, tossed by every wave of circumstance. To never lose control, you must build an internal compass. This is a set of predetermined values and rules of engagement that do not change regardless of the pressure. Rule 1. I do not raise my voice regardless of the other person's volume. Rule 2. I do not make decisions in the first 60 seconds of a crisis. Rule 3. My self-worth is not tied to the outcome of this specific interaction. When the storm hits, the sovereign man does not look at the waves, he looks at his compass. He asks, am I following my rules? If the answer is yes, then he is successful, even if the external situation is a disaster. This decoupling of internal process from external result is the ultimate secret to stoic calm. You are the master of your actions, even if you are not the master of the world. By following your own law, you remain unshakable. Pressure in the 21st century is constant because our digital borders are always open. An email, a DM, or a social media mention can trigger a micro loss of control at any hour of the day. We have become Pavlovian dogs, reacting to every buzz and ping in our pockets. The unshakable man practices digital fortification. 1. The notification fast. Turn off all non-human notifications. If it's not a direct call from a vital person, it doesn't deserve to interrupt your focus. 2. The batch response. Do not respond to pressure as it arrives. Set specific times to enter the arena of communication. By choosing when you deal with pressure, you have already won half the battle. 3. The screen buffer. Realize that a text message is just pixels on a screen. It has no physical power over you unless you give it permission. When you receive a provocative message, look at the screen, put the phone face down, and walk away for 5 minutes. This physical break reinforces the fact that you are the master of the technology, not its servant. In physics, the act of observing a particle changes its behavior. In social dynamics, the act of being an unmoving observer changes the behavior of everyone around you. When a crisis occurs, most people look for a reaction anchor. They look to see who is panicking so they can justify their own panic. If you refuse to provide that reaction, if you sit there with total stillness and a clinical gaze, you create a stabilizing field. People will subconsciously start to mirror your breathing. They will lower their voices to match yours. They will start to look to you for direction. You haven't asked for leadership. You have simply provided the only stable ground in the room. This is dominance by presence. You are changing the physical reality of the room by being the only thing in it that is not vibrating with anxiety. We lose control because we are shocked. Shock is the result of a gap between what I expected and what is happening. The wider the gap, the greater the loss of control. The man who never breaks uses premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Before every high-stakes event, he spends 5 minutes in a dark room visualizing the absolute worst-case scenario. He doesn't just think about it, he feels it. He imagines the humiliation, the loss, and the heat of the anger. He lives through it in his mind until the sting is gone. When he finally enters the actual situation and things go wrong, his brain doesn't register shock. It registers recognition. He thinks, I remember this. I've already been here. Because the event is no longer new, it is no longer terrifying. He is not rising to the occasion. He is simply executing a plan he has already rehearsed in the theater of his mind. In the theater of human conflict, volume is a deceptive metric. We are conditioned to believe that the one who shouts the loudest is the one in charge. In reality, shouting is a biological admission of a loss of control. When you raise your voice, you are signaling that your words alone are not enough to command authority. You are trying to brute force your way into someone else's attention. The unshakable man uses the subsonic whisper. When the pressure rises and the other person begins to shout, you do not meet their volume. Instead, you consciously lower yours. You speak at a level that is just loud enough to be heard, but quiet enough to require the other person to be silent if they want to understand you. The physical bow. By speaking quietly, you force the aggressor to stop their own noise and physically lean in toward you. In the hidden language of the body, leaning in is a submissive gesture. You have successfully manipulated their physical posture without touching them. The sound of certainty. A whisper in a storm suggests that you are so confident in your position that you don't need to compete with the noise. It suggests that you have reservoirs of power that you aren't even using. Shouting is like a firework, loud, bright, and over in a second. A quiet, low-frequency voice is like the hum of a high-voltage transformer. It is terrifying because it is constant, stable, and suggests an immense amount of energy behind the surface. One of the primary reasons we lose control is that we are too close to the event. When someone insults you, you feel the sting in your own chest. When a crisis occurs, you feel like the building is falling on you. This is first-person immersion. To maintain absolute control, you must practice cognitive dissociation. Imagine that you are not the participant in the conflict, but the director of a film. When the pressure hits, mentally step out of your body. Imagine you are floating 5 feet above the scene, looking down at yourself and the person pressuring you. The scene analysis. From this perspective, the shouter isn't an attacker. They are just an actor performing a role. You see their red face as makeup, their insults as scripted lines, and your own calm body as the lead character you are directing. The tactical map. When you aren't in your body, you can see the geometry of the room. You see where the exits are, you see the body language of the bystanders, and you see the flaws in the other person's posture. By viewing the crisis in the third person, you effectively cut the emotional wire. The pain of the moment is happening to the character, not to the director. This allows you to make cold, surgical decisions while the character maintains the stone face. Insecurity sounds like a long paragraph. Confidence sounds like a single sentence. One of the most common ways men bleed power under pressure is by justifying their existence. Someone questions your decision, and you give 5 reasons why you made it. Someone critiques your work, and you start a long monologue about the circumstances. This is a pleading loop. By explaining yourself, you are implicitly asking the other person for permission to be right. You are putting them in the position of the judge and yourself in the position of the defendant. The unshakable man understands that sovereignty does not explain itself. When you are pressured, you state your position and then you stop talking. If someone asks why, you can choose to give a brief, logical reason, or you can simply say, because that is the decision that has been made. By refusing to explain, you are signaling that your reality is not up for negotiation. You aren't being difficult. You are being fixed. You are a boundary that cannot be moved by a question mark. This lack of explanation drives the reactive person insane because they have nothing to latch on to. They cannot argue with your reasons if you don't give them any. While breathing is the primary back door to the brain, there is a physical technique used by elite pilots and divers to manage their internal pressure. The muscle lock. When you feel the adrenaline surge, that buzzing sensation in your arms and legs, your body is trying to dump that energy into movement, fidgeting, pacing. To ground this energy and lower your heart rate, you can use isometric anchoring. The heel press. Press your heels firmly into the floor. Feel the tension in your calves and thighs. The palm press. If you are sitting, press your palms into your knees or the armrests of the chair. The core lock. Slightly engage your abdominal muscles. By engaging these large muscle groups in a static, unmoving way, you are consuming the excess adrenaline without moving a muscle on the outside. You are grounding the electricity of the panic. To an observer, you look perfectly still and relaxed. Internally, you are burning the stress chemicals through isometric tension. This allows you to maintain a low, stable heart rate even while the fire of the pressure is trying to accelerate you. In any negotiation, Whether for a salary, a contract, or a social agreement, the person who can walk away without looking back is the one who possesses all the power. Pressure in negotiation comes from the fear of loss. You are afraid to lose the opportunity, the money, or the relationship. The sovereign man enters every negotiation with the pre-rejected mindset. Before he enters the room, he tells himself, "This deal is already dead. I have already lost it. I am here only to see if it can be resurrected on my terms." Because he has already accepted the loss, the other side has no leverage. When they try to apply pressure, "We have other offers. This is a one-time deal. Take it or leave it." The sovereign man simply blinks slowly and says, "I understand. Then perhaps this isn't the right fit." The moment you show that you are unbothered by the loss, the pressure flips. Now, the other side starts to panic. They wonder why their pressure tactics aren't working. They start to worry that they are about to lose you. You have dominated the negotiation by being the only person in the room who doesn't need to be there. Pressure doesn't just happen in the moment. It ripples into the future. Many men maintain control during the event, but lose it afterward by obsessing over what they should have said or how they almost failed. This is internal erosion. To maintain permanent control, you must master the aftershock audit. After a high-pressure event, you do not allow yourself to ruminate on emotions. Instead, you perform a technical debrief. "What was the stimulus?" the client shouted. "What was my response?" I paused for 3 seconds and lowered my volume. "What was the outcome?" The client calmed down. By analyzing the event as a series of inputs and outputs, you move the experience from the emotional part of your brain to the logical part. You aren't healing from the pressure. You are learning the mechanics. You are turning the chaos of the past into the armor of the future. You become unshakable because you see every crisis as a laboratory for your own growth. Where you look determines what you feel. In a high-pressure situation, the reactive man has skittish eyes. He looks at the door, escape. He looks at the person's hands, threat. Or he looks at the floor, submission. The unshakable man uses the triangular gaze. He does not stare aggressively into the eyes. That triggers a fight response in the opponent, which increases the pressure. Instead, he looks at the third eye, the space between the eyebrows, and then slowly shifts his gaze to the mouth, and then the other eye. The pace of the gaze. He moves his eyes slowly, as if he is observing an interesting landscape. The perimeter scan. Occasionally, he will slowly scan the room, looking past the person pressuring him. This signals that the person is not the center of his world. They are just one detail in a much larger environment. This gaze communicates a terrifying level of comfort. It shows that you are not locked onto the threat. You are so in control that you have the bandwidth to notice the entire room. You have dominated the geometry of the space by being the only one who can see the whole picture. In a world that demands constant presence, accessibility is a leak. Most men feel that to maintain control, they must be on top of everything, responding to every ping, appearing at every meeting, and being available for every crisis. This is a fallacy. Constant availability signals that you are a servant to the environment. It shows that you are at the mercy of the world's schedule. The unshakable man implements the ghost protocol. This is the art of selective inaccessibility. The delayed reaction. When a crisis breaks, your first move is to disappear. You do not respond to the first 5 minutes of panic. By removing yourself from the initial blast radius, you allow the emotional dust to settle. You are the only one not breathing the smoke of the first reaction. The mystery of movement. People should never be 100% sure where you are or what you are doing. This informational vacuum makes it impossible for others to apply consistent pressure to you. They cannot hit a target they cannot find. By mastering the ghost protocol, you are teaching the world that your attention is a high-value reward, not a guaranteed right. When you finally do appear in a high-pressure situation, your presence carries 10 times the weight because it was not expected or guaranteed. You are the Deus ex machina, the god from the machine who arrives on his own terms to resolve the chaos. You cannot maintain control under psychological pressure if your body is soft. Your mind lives in a biological housing, and if that housing is fragile, your brain will interpret discomfort as a mortal threat. To be unshakable, you must practice voluntary hardship. The thermal reset. Take a 5-minute ice-cold shower every morning. When the freezing water hits your skin, your brain screams panic, your heart rate spikes, and your breath hitches. In that moment, you practice the stone face. You force your breath to stay slow. You are training your brain to separate intense physical sensation from emotional crisis. The fasting buffer. Periodically go 24 hours without food. When the pressure of hunger hits, observe it as data. Notice how your mind tries to make you irritable or weak. By refusing to react to your own biology, you are building the muscle of control. When a real-life crisis hits, a major financial loss or a public betrayal, your brain will look back at your training. It will say, "I have survived the ice and the hunger. This social noise is nothing. You have elevated your threshold of panic so high that the world's average problems can no longer reach it." The ultimate test of control is when the pressure is applied by a group. Public humiliation or collective scrutiny causes most men to crumble because our tribal ancestors knew that being cast out of the group meant death. The sovereign man masters collective de-escalation. The spotlight reverse. When a group is judging you, do not hide. Do not hunch your shoulders or look down. Instead, pick the alpha of the group and maintain a calm, unblinking gaze. By focusing on one person, you break the collective power of the mob and turn it back into a one-on-one interaction. The slow scan. When addressed by a crowd, wait 5 seconds before responding. Slowly scan the room from left to right. This owner's look signals that you are not the one being judged. You are the one assessing the room. By refusing to acknowledge the social pressure of the group, you effectively depower the audience. You are showing that their collective opinion does not have the authority to move your internal needle. You are the only person in the room who is truly free, and that freedom is the most magnetic form of leadership. Most men lose control because they view every conflict as the final battle. They think this deal, this argument, or this mistake is the end of their story. This short-termism creates a frantic, desperate energy. The unshakable man plays the endless game. He views life as a series of infinite rounds. If he loses a negotiation today, he knows there is another one tomorrow. If someone insults him, he knows that in 10 years, neither of them will remember the words. This temporal detachment allows you to remain calm because you realize that no single event is fatal. You are like a mountain watching the clouds pass. Some clouds are dark, some are light, but the mountain remains. By stretching your perspective across decades rather than minutes, you dissolve the pressure of the now. You are no longer fighting for your life. You are simply moving a chess piece in a game that never ends. True control is not about what you do. It is about what you refuse to do. It is the power of the strategic no. Under pressure, people will try to pull you into their action loop. They want you to sign now, talk now, react now. The sovereign man exercises his veto power. I am not going to discuss this right now. I will not be reacting to that comment. No. This is the iron wall of the inner citadel. By exercising your right to not participate, you are asserting that you are the sole owner of your energy. You are not a player on their field, you are the owner of the stadium. When you realize that you have the power to simply opt out of any psychological game, the pressure vanishes. You cannot be controlled if you refuse to engage with the mechanism of control. At the highest level of mastery, you reach a state of meta-awareness. You aren't just observing the world. You are observing yourself observing the world. When a crisis hits, you see your heart rate rise and you think, how interesting. My body is producing adrenaline. It thinks there is a threat. You are no longer the thing that is feeling the pressure. You are the awareness that is watching the feelings. This is the ultimate ghost in the machine. You are the pilot sitting in a quiet, soundproof cockpit, while the plane, your body ego, is flying through a hurricane. The plane might be shaking, but the pilot is just reading the instruments. This level of detachment is where superhuman control comes from. It is the ability to be in the fire, but not of the fire. We have reached the end of the manual, but you are at the beginning of your reign. The world is a chaotic, noisy, and demanding place. It will never stop trying to break your frame. It will never stop testing your limits. But you now have the tools to remain the unmoved mover. Remember the hierarchy of the sovereign man. The body is a tool. Keep it still. Keep it cold. Keep it disciplined. The voice is a weapon. Keep it low, keep it slow, keep it rare. The mind is a fortress. Keep it silent, keep it detached, keep it sovereign. You are the only person who can grant permission for the world to stress you. From this day forward, you withdraw that permission. You are the master of the 3-second delay. You are the architect of the void. You are the king of your own inner citadel. When the world screams, you will whisper. When the world runs, you will walk. When the world breaks, you will remain. You have the hidden advantage. You have the control. And you will never, ever lose it again.